Welcome into the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and it is time to rate the AFC NFC East in this video, as I'm sure is clear by now. So, real quick before we get into it, just a little bit of detail about the grading. I have to stick with what I did here as a grading platform. Hopefully next year I will improve upon it a little bit more, but I like the general ideology here. So, just in terms of the player grading, it was about 95% objective. There are plenty of player grades that I handed out that I don't love in terms of them representing how much I actually like the player. But they represent how much I like the player for where they got drafted as intended. So you can see my draft videos day 1 and 2 are both up on the channel for you to watch as I graded them as it happened. My grading ranking went from an S to an F tier. S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. That is 7. So everything was kind of built around a 7-point scale in terms of all this grading. And the baseline for rounds 1 through 3 was an A. I think I would move that down to a B next year. And then the baseline for rounds 4 through 7 was a B. And I would move that back down to a C then. The pluses and the minuses are going to tell you a lot about my actual feelings on the people on the draft picks and whether they're like my guy. I like them. I like the fit. Sometimes I'll do that, but mostly it's like, were they a my guy? Do I love the pick? Do I love the guy? Regardless of where he was drafted. Is this system perfect? No. Is it fair? Yes. Everybody got graded on the same scale. As far as the overall team grade here goes, 50% of the complete grade is a completely subjective grade from myself. I look at the players and I say, I love that haul, or I love the vision, I understand the vision, or this confuses me, or something like that. 35% of the overall ranking is based on the number of the players of which they drafted and which round that those players were in. Of course, if they're drafted in a higher round, that brought more value to the overall grading for them. And then 10% of the grade was based on the player grades from rounds 1 through 3, the average, and then 5% was the average of the player grades from rounds 4 through 7. Let's get into this puppy. We're going to start off with the Buffalo Bills, and there were aspects of how they approached this draft that I really appreciated for them. They started off weak, despite not loving either, them trading back twice to start the draft. And they also hit a stretch of 4 strong hits in a row right in the middle of the draft that you can see all those pluses there that I really loved. So you start off, you take Keon Coleman. I did have this as a prospect that I thought Buffalo would be interested in, makes sense for them. Originally, I thought as like a deep threat for Josh Allen, and I still think you utilize him like that some. But after looking at this offense and how it wants to operate, you think of what happened with Stephon Diggs last year, his route tree. He went from, running deep and getting a whole lot of fantasy points for people to his average reception was like, like 30% of the time he was targeted behind the line of scrimmage or like within a couple of yards of the line of scrimmage after the offensive coordinator changed. Totally different than what it was like beforehand. I think that Keon Coleman, it's going to see the same thing with a big slot kind of role, although they already have that a bit. So we'll see what the plan is. That's what I'm thinking the plan is, more so than not, even if it's operated from the X like they did with Stephon Diggs. Maybe a Rashee Rice-esque kind of usage is what I would think, where I think Coleman is going to actually find the most success in the league as well. But gave that a B grade. A little bit early for me for Keon Coleman yet. Don't love the player, don't hate the player. As far as Cole Bishop goes, was not a big fan of him, and this was too early for me. So he got a D grade. Dwayne Carter, I thought that was right on as to where he should go. So hopefully they'll like him. And then you get into this group of players where I really started liking the Buffalo's draft. Ray Davis, running back. I loved that. He's going to bring a little bit of a new toughness element to that running back room. Cedric Van Pran, Granger. Center, maybe, I don't know if they have plans to utilize him as a guard or anything like that. I assume center here. Maybe not year 1, but down the road. I had a higher grade on him than in the 5th round, so I thought that this was a good value, hence him, getting the S tier grading there. Not quite a my guy, but I thought a very good pick in terms of value. Edefwan Olufashio was a my guy linebacker. I think he fits this Buffalo defense and what they want to do and some of what they've lost in recent history. So I'll be interested to see if he pans out. Hard-hitting, run-stuffing kind of linebacker there. S+ grade there. And same with Javon Solomon, one of the edge rushers that really stands out as a really interesting prospect, developmental kind of guy. But the upside is on the higher end of all the edge rushers in terms of what the ceiling might look like. So it wasn't my guy due to that S+ tier there. Then we finish off the draft, 6th, 7th round there, Tylan Grable. I think I had a 7th round grade on him. Same with Daquan Hardy. So, it was a little bit early for me, but nothing too crazy there. And I didn't scout Travis Clayton, so I don't have any kind of input on that. That doesn't really impact my grading here at all, outside of the fact that they got one more player, which does impact the grading a little bit, especially a 7th rounder. All that being said, the final grade for the Buffalo Bills here, B+, A-, not shabby. Remember, this does go all the way up to an S+, so in some ways this would be like a C+, B-, but I think a quite strong draft here for Buffalo with maybe not strongest in the parts of the draft where you'd want it the strongest. I thought they might be interested in Xavier Worthy. They end up allowing Kansas City to take that. You do get more draft picks and everything, and I like that. And I thought that Buffalo needed to do a little bit of a reload, something that I thought, we'll talk about Miami later, something I thought that they might want to do in this draft too, but they didn't. Buffalo did. That's going to bring us on to the Miami Dolphins, who I believe a lot of people are going to absolutely love this draft, and I'm just going to say, Miami Dolphins fan, do yourself a favor, do me a favor in the comments, but do yourself a favor and just ignore this. Move along. If you want to see the rest of the video, just fast forward past wherever the end grade is here. I don't want to upset you, and I mean, honestly, I'm going to be looking forward every bit as you are on day one next year in terms of watching this team until we start to get into the wintry months, until they start to play away games in bad weather. Then I'm not going to be tuning into these Miami games because I'm not going to expect the offense to be performing. So here is some takes that I wrote down here for the Miami Dolphins of what my issues with this draft are, despite you can see all those pluses there. Several my guys, absolutely love them. Absolute Miami types of players like speed. Not that they didn't already have that, but hey, let's add some more. I get it. It's a very exciting Miami draft, but exciting does not always win games, as we learned last year. I thought we learned that in Miami last year. So one big problem with high-performance vehicles, and that's what I would call this Miami offense, is that when the smallest issue arises, somebody gets a little banged up, a little injured, the whole thing doesn't work. We saw that happen last year. That's why we knew that they needed to come in and get at least a third wide receiver in this draft. Understandable. They did get a few quick repair parts to help prevent that from happening, or when that happens, to help make sure that they don't just completely break down and they're still competing and can win. The second issue is that they're useless when they're taken off the road, high performance vehicles. And that's what I was talking about in bad weather games later on in the season. For me, more than any other team in the NFL, this team needs to win home field advantage throughout the entirety of the playoffs, or get lucky and play against teams that are playing in domes, or just happens to be fair weather during that time of the year for teams who aren't playing in domes and are in bad weather environments. Otherwise, I still think that they're pretty much screwed in those kinds of situations. This isn't Arena League football. You can't just build a high-performance sports vehicle and make it the fastest and the most efficient and send it on out there. There needs to be more to that. So I was left a little bit confused with this draft. At the end, I just felt like Halloween, and I got all the candy here. Great, excellent, love it. Maybe had a little too much candy. Feeling a little bit sick to my stomach from it. The trenches barely got addressed in the short term, much less in the long term. That wording's a little bit weird. Patrick Paul, long term, do like the prospects. Short term, not going to be much of a help. Chop Robinson, long term, maybe, he's a boom bust prospect. Thought that was a little bit early, obviously, as you can see from my B- there, quite a bit early, and he was not a my guy, so that's why the B- there. But still, the upside is obviously there, and you need a rotation in Miami due to the weather. So I understand that, and then you have the injuries early on. Like, he's probably going to get some opportunities earlier on than he should to play at edge because of the injuries in Miami. Those guys still going to be getting healthy throughout the season, hopefully being at full strength by the playoffs there for Miami's defense. So I retried. Let's give some credit here to Miami. I retried like their draft, obviously even with the advantage of hindsight, but also with the disadvantage of handcuffs and trying to do what they did in terms of the player types that they drafted here, but improve upon it. The best I could do was moving up a couple of spots, taking Troy Fautanu, if that would have been possible. I think it would have been possible, and I think it would have been kind of clear that would have been the move. So you get an offensive lineman that can come in and help day one with this team, and then taking Marshawn Nealand instead of Chop Robinson. Who knows what you think of that. And then Malik Mustafa instead of Jalen Wright. But then where that left me in terms of getting much better safety, which I think they needed to do in this draft, the running back position then probably would have been nowhere near. But just like the safety position is nowhere near what I think Malik Mustafa would have been. So there are my issues here. Patrick Paul. I thought this was where these guys should have gone. The Kingsley Suamataia, Patrick Paul, Tyler Guytons of the world. Jalen Wright, running back. I absolutely love Jalen Wright. He's my RB3, right? And he's going to be wonderful in this offense. They've already got a couple of wonderful guys. One of them definitely getting older and injury prone. So I get it. I understand it. And I celebrated when they made the pick, and I give it an S+ tier. It's a great value. They couldn't. That's the thing here too. Like down the stretch, they couldn't help themselves. Even if they wanted to address the trenches, I get it. Muhammad Kamara here, A+. The value is like right on there, and he's a my guy. Malik Washington, a my guy there, and love it, especially for this offense, especially for what their needs are at wide receiver. Beautiful. And then you back that up with a similar, different kind of guy here in wide receiver, Taj Washington. A+ pick there for the last pick of the draft. Right in the middle there, Patrick McMorris. I think he was the last graded safety of mine in the entirety of my safeties, my 24 or something scouted safeties. So obviously was not a fan of that. F- there. All in all, what did this do? Miami fan, just do yourselves a favor. Just skip ahead like a minute. So there you go. B for Miami. I know that's not going to be a consensus. They also missed out on that third grade. That didn't help the grading. And yeah, I know. There are issues with it for me. That's going to bring us on to the New England Patriots here. And they get Drake May, their quarterback, at pick 103. They did the right thing. What I had them doing all offseason. Perfect. So you do the right thing, you get the quarterback. It's 2 thumbs up for me right off the bat. It's never going to be a bad draft in my opinion at that point. It might, years down the road, we might look at it and say that was a bad draft because that quarterback didn't turn out, but you have to take your shots. Right after that, you do the right thing and bring in a bunch of guys to support your new quarterback. I mean, look at that. We have a defensive head coach, and he went ahead and he said, you know what? We had a really good defense. We have a lot of the parts still available to us. Let's get this offense up and running and help it out. Perfect. A round of applause to New England for that. However, I think they left something on the board when addressing their offensive line that was disappointing there. As you can tell, not a big fan of Caden Wallace there. And then, Layden Robinson, both just like last year's offensive linemen that they drafted, like way too early for me. And just like those guys, or at least similar to, but maybe more so, these are my guys. I got the pluses there, an F+, an E+. Just, my guys in the 6th, 7th round, I assume. I can't remember. Layden Robinson might have been a 5th, 6th round kind of guy for me. Caden Wallace, I think, was like 6th, 7th. So, yeah. We'll see how they turn out. I mean, obviously, they have more resources than I. I like the vision. I just didn't like the exact path that they took. All right, so Drake May, excellent. Jalen Polk, it's a D/a D+ here. I can't quite call him a my guy because it really depended on when he would get drafted. You draft him in the 3rd round, and I'm giving you a thumbs up. That's okay, whatever. Draft him in the 4th round, and I'm kind of excited about it. I think he's going to be a very good, Tyler Boyd, but not as in terms, I'm not calling that a comp, but just a very good wide receiver 3 who could serve as a wide receiver 2 if you have a good quarterback as well. But the moment you bring in another, 2 superstars, yeah, they're probably going to get forgotten about a little bit. I just don't think there's too much superstar in Jalen Polk. So that's my issue. We went over the offensive linemen that they helped, but then they came back and they doubled down here for wide receiver. You get Javon Baker. I thought the value for that was perfectly right on for where I had him on my draft board as a 4th-round guy. So it wasn't quite a my guy, but he was close to a my guy. The part of the issue was he was a bunch of other people's my guy, so it felt I didn't love him as much as other people, so how could I call him my guy, even though I did like him quite a bit. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if Javon Baker is the better X wide receiver out of these two. Jalen Polk, though, going to be your 3rd down. I like to comp him mostly to like Jawan Jennings of San Francisco. Then Marcellus Dial, did not love that, obviously. Probably maybe a 7th to undrafted free agent grading on him. You can find all my grades up on the website, thefforge.com, the Fantasy Football Forge, thefforge.com, where you can see what I actually had on the grades and the grading I ended up giving them. But Joe Milton, quarterback, the 3rd, B- grade here. Understandable, essentially. I don't think Joe Milton's going to be anything, but I get it with like Drake May as him being the backup and just wanting to get another quarterback in the room there. And hey, you never know. You never know. So doubling down also, not the worst thing in the world when you need a new quarterback. Tight end, Jaheim Bell, A- there. This was a good value in the 7th round. He wasn't a my guy at all. I thought he was being overhyped. But in the 7th round, I like it quite a bit. That's solid. So at the end of the day, it's a B- here. Like I said, I like the vision. I did not love the path. I thought we could have done better here, especially with these crucial picks right behind Drake May. But hopefully everything turns out. I'll be rooting for... I'm always rooting for these rookie quarterbacks. Nobody wants to see them fail outside of some sick fans, some sickos out there. Jets are up here. 1st round, Olufashinu. I think they traded back. So that's another, just in case. I don't really take into account the trade backs, trade ups into my draft grade because that will... come through in other ways in terms of how it affects the grade. But Olufashinu was my number 3 offensive lineman. This is where I had him valued, and he went there. It makes sense. It makes sense for the team as far as a fit as well. So I like that. Then we got wide receiver Malachi Corley. Same thing. He went right where I had him valued in terms of where he went in the draft, where he was on my board. I just do have some concerns about the New York Jets actually utilizing him properly, because after the botched attempt to incorporate Mecole Hardman into the offense, I don't know. Are they going to be able to incorporate Malachi Corley into it? We'll see. Braylon Allen, running back, and then you doubled up with that with Isaiah Davis, who, as you can see with the minus there, the B minus, was not a big fan of him. Neither Braylon Allen. It seemed like I was actually down on him because I didn't like him as much as others, but he went right where I had him graded. A lot of people had him higher, thought he was a 2nd, 3rd round kind of guy, thought he was one of the top 2, 3 running backs in this draft class. I'm not overly excited about him. I think you've got some great running backs. You doubled down on it. I didn't really love that whole deal here. I was a little bit confused on the 2nd running back. Understood the 1st one, and apparently they are moving to a gap running system more so that would fit. You think a guy like Braylon Allen, although I don't know that it totally does. He kind of wants to bounce things out. He doesn't love contact as much as he should for his size. Speaking of quarterback, Jordan Travis, A+ there. I like the upside of Jordan Travis. So this was right where I had him as like a 5th round guy, I believe. And I think that there is potential for him to be successful in the league. Potential. With obviously some development. So I understand that. I like that behind Aaron Rodgers. Cornerback Quantez Stickers. Strong pick here from the CFL. A lot of people liked him. I could only get so much research on him, but from what I could gather, I guesstimated he was probably about a 5th round guy. That's where he goes. Jalen Key, to wrap things up, got that a C. I believe I had an undrafted free agent tag on him. So there we go. That is the New York Jets draft player grades, and I give it a B. At the end of the day, it earned a B from me. Yeah, I gotta say, quick before we leave the Jets too. A little bit of it, I didn't think that the draft exactly fell like in favor of them here at the top of the draft for this first pick to maybe do something that I more was rooting for from them to help Aaron Rodgers in this offense out just a little bit more. But yeah, can't argue with Olu Fashanu. That's going to bring us on to the Dallas Cowboys, moving on to the NFC East. And we got Tyler Guyton at the top here, first off of the board for them. They moved back, got him. I still don't like it. I got to move this thing along just a little bit quicker. Sorry, NFC. Edge rusher Marshawn Neeland got that an A+ from me. Really liked it. Thought this is about where he should go. That's my guy, Cooper Beebe. I thought the value was great here. Looks like they're going to be using him as a center, however, so that's a little bit concerning for me because I don't think he has any center experience. By the way, Tyler Guyton, yeah, I've explained it. I thought he should have gone like end of the second, beginning of the third round, developmental kind of guy. And as far as Dallas goes, I didn't want a developmental tackle. This is why I had him trade up in one of my drafts. I wanted guys who can help day one. Apparently, we're all in, right? I don't see it. Maurice Liufau, linebacker. That's a D. That was too early for me. I know some people like him more than that. Kalen Carson, I did like this draft pick very nicely for them. So great job there, Ryan Flournoy. Interesting prospect. I thought that this was too early. Thought you could probably get him at the end of the draft or even as an undrafted free agent. But so be it. And then Nathan Thomas. We ended the draft strong here. I like these two picks. Justin Rogers, Nathan Thomas, I thought were both a very good value here towards the end of the draft. And Nathan Thomas, offensive tackle guard, was actually my guy. So here we go. My notes on Dallas were that I think that it was a mistake not coming away with a running back. I know that they're going to be bringing Zeke in, but, whatever. I'm extremely underwhelmed at the wide receiver help that they brought in. What did they, Ryan Flournoy. I thought we're going all in, like, let's get this offense, kind of like I wanted to treat the Jets and stuff. Like, let's get some weapons here for Dak to work with. So, my final note, this is not all in. This draft feels like a team working towards a better future, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not what I expected, nor what the organization expressed that they were going to do. So I don't remember how did I end up grading this. It ends up being a B+ here. I like it more going into the future than I do to help the team this year. That's going to bring us on to the New York Giants, and real quick, real simple, this was an A for me in terms of my subjective grade of the New York Giants draft. I would have taken Rome over Neighbors due to who I already have in-house if I was, the one in New York making that decision. But I had Neighbors ranked higher than Rome, so I still love the pick. I mean, I love Malik Neighbors. This started extremely strong in days 1 and 2, so picks 1, 2, and 3 there. But then they had a rest of the draft, as you can see, from 4, 5, and 6 there. And you only walk away with 6 guys. Don't love that either. Obviously, the league didn't think that any of the non-top 6 quarterbacks were legit potential starting options. So I do understand not taking, somebody as a long shot to take over as the starting quarterback or as a somebody that you wanted to develop or something like that. The Giants cornered themselves into this situation. You're going to just figure out the quarterback next year and make a stronger roster for that guy to come into. And maybe in the meantime, you'll have a surprise and DJ turns a corner this year. It's always possible to get him a better roster to work with and things could happen. So, Malik Neighbors, love it. Tyler Newman, love it. Andrew Phillips, my guy. Malik Neighbors was my guy too. So that's what you see the plus there for Andrew Phillips. Cornerback, I don't know what their plan is. They had need at both nickel and on the perimeter at cornerback. He is versatile. I think he can do both. Some people think he's only a slot cornerback, slot corner. So you'll see, but either way, absolutely love him, his attitude. He is not afraid to go up against anybody, any size, any type of player, fast, big, quick, doesn't matter. He'll do his best to cover. He's not flawless by any means, and so we'll see how he does at the next level. He's not a guaranteed success story, but this is where I thought he should go in the draft, and I'll be rooting for him. And I think that you New York Giants fans will be too. Tight end Theo Johnson, not really my flavor here. I gave it a D. That was a little bit too early for me, but some people like that a lot. Tyrone Tracy Jr., B. This is where I thought he should go, and you got him there. He's quite raw as a running back, and he's a receiving back. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more of like an every down back there for the New York Giants. Linebacker Darius Masau, 6th round guy, and he still got an F, so probably an undrafted free agent in my grading system. At the end of the day here, still got a B plus, A minus. You got Malik Neighbors, you got Tyler Nubin, you got Andrew Phillips. You helped out this roster, so I liked it enough what you did there in New York to overcome a poor day 3. So let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles, who just nailed it. What is there to say? I mean, the league cannot continue to let the Eagles continue to do this. Last year's draft was flawless, in my opinion, and this year's draft, although it may have had a flaw or two, in my opinion, it's really tough to do any better than this, and they took 9 guys. So you got a my guy, who went much later than I thought. Top 10 guy, best defensive player in my opinion of this draft, in Quinyon Mitchell at pick 22. Didn't have to move around for it at all. That's an S+. Cooper DeJean, not too long after, that's an S+. By the way, Philly fan, if you must hate this draft because you hated it when I gave you cornerbacks. You hated it when I gave you any kind of offensive line future help. Some of you did. You thought I needed to take wide receiver with the top 1 or 2 picks. You never suggested that running back was the position that I should be taking. So I'm guessing that you guys just absolutely hate this draft. And you didn't take a linebacker until the 5th round. So I'm sorry, Philly fan, that you hate it, but I absolutely love it. So 3rd round, Jalix Hunt. You see, we got a plus there because, man, he's my guy. Love Jalix Hunt. He is very raw. I don't think he's going to be ready for some time. I would have felt much more comfortable taking him on day 3 than on day 2. Nonetheless, C+. Like I said, there's just other guys, other talent on my board, that I thought were more worthy of a pick here at pick 94. It's okay. You got a really, really complete roster. You got a guy that you want. I like that. Will Shipley is really the one guy who I don't care for from this Eagles draft, but they get themselves a receiving back, so I guess something that they wanted there. I don't know why they felt like they needed that, but luxury pick, I suppose, here in Will Shipley. Some people like him a lot. I just don't. Aeneas Smith, some people like him a lot. I'm up there with them. I like it. I thought this was good value for him. I had him as a probably 4th round draft grader, so S tier pick there. Jeremiah Trotter. He's one of those guys who actually I had a 3rd round draft grade on, so it took us so long that actually ends up being an A tier pick instead of an S tier pick, just assuming that if the entire league passes on a guy 2 or 3 times, there's something medical there that was some concern, something attitude wise, or something that was just behind the scenes that I'm not able to see. So kind of knocked down the grading a little bit. But Jeremiah Trotter, great pick here in the 5th round. Dropped much further than expected. Trevor Keegan was my guy at guard. I liked him a lot. So I think that that's a great prospect to bring in there, and they need more help along that offensive line for now and into the future. More so for into the future. Will say, Philly fan, couple of you. Looks like you were right on Tyler Steen and what the organization felt about him and their willingness to go ahead and just... I mean, there's a little bit of competition here. A 5th round guard isn't nothing. It could upset and win the competition, but they weren't out here getting a 1st or 2nd round guy. Although, how could you have gotten a 1st or 2nd round guy with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean available to you there? Wide receiver, by the way to jump my Green Bay Packers for Cooper DeJean, you jerks. Wide receiver Johnny Wilson, S- there. Another guy. So I thought the value is great here. I had a 4th round value on him because... What if? Now, I don't think that what if turns out. There's like one wide receiver in the history of the NFL who is anywhere near the size of Johnny Wilson who has been successful and a contributor to teams on a regular basis for a long time. That being said, you put on the tape, you watch Johnny Wilson, and you think he's going to succeed. It's really impressive. Not a my guy because of the history, but What if? So Johnny Wilson, really, really high upside, swing for the fences. It's a great value there in the 6th round. Also, you got Dylan McMahon, center / guard, interior offensive lineman, late in the draft, just in case. I like that. Nice, solid depth pick there to make sure that things go well and smoothly across that offensive line, as you will have some turmoil this year possibly and into the future with some guys leaving, big, major contributors leaving. So A grade there. And at the end of the day, not quite an S tier, S minus. There were a couple of bumps here and there. Really, Jalix Hunt, I think, probably keep preventing that from being the S tier with that C plus. But it's an S minus. It's right there. Really strong draft there, Philly. I loved it. That's going to bring us on to the Washington Commanders. You get your quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and let's just call it a day. It's clearly a mixed bag for me when you look at all the scores over there. I ended up liking, even loving more than I disliked if you look at the pluses compared to the 1 minus at the top of the draft, Jaden Daniels. But at the end of the day, you take your shot on your quarterback, and I'm always going to be high on that. It's the only way to truly turn around an organization through the quarterback. So I am left thinking that they could have done better by Jaden Daniels in terms of offensive line help here. This is the thing here. So I'm not a huge believer in Jaden Daniels. There were a few too many red flags for me, so it's a B minus grade for me. But once again, I totally understand it. Like, he's your guy. Go right ahead, do it, Washington. I'm not arguing against that. Drake May would have been my choice, but whatever. A little bit more help here for Jaden Daniels. I know you think you're in pretty good position on the offense. You got a defensive-minded head coach, and I think maybe that's a little bit of the issue. We saw New England recognize as a head coach that the offense was where we needed the help. Now, it's not like this Washington offense sucks, but just a little bit more help here earlier on, especially speaking of that offensive line, I think would have gone a long ways compared to what you got. And obviously, you look at you don't see the mouse, but the offensive tackle guard there at pick 67, Brandon Coleman, for me, an F tier. An F grade on that. Now, what I will say is I was low on him. A lot of people had him higher up than that. So a lot of people will like that pick. Other issues here, I didn't really have interior defensive line as a need. So then you go Jerzon Newton there with the 2nd pick. Don't love that. I do understand why they would have liked Jerzon Newton a lot. And he can contribute towards a dominant rotation. But further ensuring the success of your rookie quarterback should have taken more priority than getting a guy that you absolutely love because he fell to you here at pick 36. So Jerzon Newton, still an S tier as far as the player grade goes, where they got him. Love it. But yeah, Mikey Sanistrell. I was a little bit lower than some people on him, and not quite a my guy, but I do have faith that he's going to be successful at the next level. So I thought that was a strong pick there. But then we get to a guy who I absolutely love in Ben Sinnott. Absolute my guy. Not quite. Didn't love him as much as Tip Raymond, but I did expect him to go sooner than Tip Raymond. And he did. A D plus grade here. It's unfortunate. This is one of those situations where I got to go by the objectivity of what I set myself down for in terms of the scoring. But obviously, with the 50% subjective score, I'm not looking at Ben Sinnott as a D+. To me, that's a freaking home run. I actually did have Washington taking Ben Sinnott in my final draft in the 4th round, but I assume somebody would have taken him before we got to the 4th round, since Washington was willing to take him at 53 here. We talked about Brandon Coleman. Then we got Luke McCaffrey. That was an E+ for me. A little bit too early in the 3rd round for Luke McCaffrey. That was a surprise. I think the last pick maybe of the 3rd round there. So I like him quite a bit. Not quite a my guy, but he's got the McCaffrey name on him, so we gave it a plus, given that he went this early. He just didn't always stand out to me as much as I wanted him to for the skill sets that he had and everything. But I do like the future for Luke McCaffrey, possibly. Just, 3rd round was a little early. Jordan Morgan, absolute my guy. Love it. Thought you got a good value. I think I had a 4th round draft grade on him, so that's an S+. Dominic Hampton, Probably undrafted free agent kind of guy for me, maybe 7th rounder. That was an F for me in the 5th round. And Javonte Jean-Baptiste was not really my flavor. I didn't care for him too much as an edge rusher. That ended up being a C for me at the end of the draft class. So I think I had a 7th to undrafted free agent grade on him. So I'm not too surprised that he got taken at the end of the draft. But was not somebody who I loved. At the end of the day here, Washington gets an A. You know, you get Jaden Daniels. You got several guys who I love, even if they're a little bit further down. You got, several second round. You got a lot of talent. That beefed up the grade a little bit. There's a lot to be excited about for the future of Washington. I just would have liked to see a little bit more focus on helping Jaden Daniels at the top of this draft. But Ben Sinnott, it's not like they didn't. You know, Ben Sinnott, maybe Luke McCaffrey, and then possibly Brandon Coleman there. There you go. That is it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate it very much. And we'll get to the AFC and the NFC South next and finish it up with the AFC, NFC North. I'll have the South out later today is the plan. Peace out.